What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? We are live, baby. What's going on? This is Real Talk with Rajan. We are live. It is a Sunday night. It is not my usual night, but these are not usual circumstances. So here we are, Sunday night, 7 p.m. Well, 7:04 p.m. Running a little bit behind. It's been a crazy day, but when we make promises, we keep promises here at Real Talk with Rajan. So a good friend, homie, Christian Rainey, reached out and said, "Hey, man, I want to come on. I want to talk about my campaign." So here we are. We're going to talk about it tonight. So please share. Let the people know that Real Talk with Rajan is live. We are going to be talking about the election. We got a big day. I'm going to put this disclaimer out there. Of course, I'll say it during the show. But we have a big election primary coming up on Tuesday, June 9th here in South Carolina. I don't know where you are. Your individual areas. Some people do watch from outside of the low country. Wherever you are, please make sure that you are exercising your vote, exercising your voice. It's so important that we make our voices heard at the polls. So please, as we're inviting people in, make sure that if you have not voted yet, make sure that you are making plans to get yourself to the polls and get someone else to the polls. Find out from your elderly neighbors. If they're not able to make it to the polls, what can I do to get people to the polls? This needs to happen. All right. I'm just stalling a little bit so y'all can share this video out because I want as many eyeballs on this video as possible. I want as many people watching the video as possible. That needs to happen because we got to make sure that we know who these candidates are. We want to make sure that we give them an opportunity to tell you who they are, tell you what their issues are, and represent themselves to the world as needed. Tonight's guest is going to be none other than Christian Rainey, well known in the Low Country for his work, not only in when it comes to domestic violence prevention, but also known for his work as a firefighter. The accolades that he's received. You're going to hear more about him as this interview goes on, but I want you guys to please share this video out. I'm going to share it and then I'm going to get started. I'm going to share this out, then I'm going to get started. I am now live. Join me. I am live with Christian Rainey. I just have to tag him later because it's not letting me tag him right now. But that's all right because God does all things well. All right, here we go. Where my music at? Mic check 1 2 1 2. Hello, world, and welcome back to Real Talk with Rajan, where nothing's off limits. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with me, and I appreciate that. I am your host, Rajan Lewis. Now, here on Real Talk with Rajan, everything's debatable, so any given week, we can be discussing anything from sports to music to politics. You name it, we'll discuss it. Now, for those who are new to this show, Real Talk with Rajan also has a goal of shining a light on the great things and the great people that are right here in the Low Country that are doing amazing work and are changing the world one day at a time. This Tuesday, upcoming Tuesday, we have a very special day in the Low Country and in the state of South Carolina. We have our election primaries, and so we'll be finding out who these candidates are and what they represent. And tonight, we have a very special guest, a friend of mine, Mr. Christian Rainey. I want you guys to give him a loud applause. Give us a thumbs up if you're a fan of Christian Rainey. Go ahead, give me some thumbs up because he is here and he's here to talk to you guys. Thank you so much for joining me, Mr. Rainey.
Man, it's a pleasure being in the same space as you again, man.
Praise God, man. So, all right. So, for those who do not know who you are, please introduce yourself to the audience.
My name is Christian Rainey. I'm a captain in the North Charleston Fire Department. I'm also founder and CEO of a nonprofit organization called M.A.D USA, which stands for Men Against Domestic Violence. Do a lot of youth mentorship, a lot of education, K through 12, with kids about bullying, domestic violence, and things of that nature. So very involved in the community, believe investing in our future if we really want to see a difference. And so that's what I've dedicated my life to. My mom and my 4 siblings were murdered roughly about 14 years ago. And since then, I've dedicated my life to public service.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So yes, I want to walk. I want to walk through all of that pretty slowly, just so people get really a depth, a full understanding of who you are as a man. Because yeah, it's important that you're able to get your political platform out there, but it's also important that they understand who Christian Rainey, the man, is. Who Christian Rainey,
That's the
the
most important thing
yeah.
to me.
That's always the most important thing. So let's start at the very beginning. Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Charleston. I'm a Charleston County native, I would say. Um, I've moved around basically all my life from West Ashley. I grew up a good bit in Orleans Gardens, grew up in Ardmore for a little while, grew up on the Heights for a little while, grew up in Pepper Hill, lived off of the Rutledge Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Stayed off of, I think it's called Clements, I think it is.
Clemens
Uh,
Ferry.
no, not Clements Ferry.
Oh,
I
okay.
wish. Uh, Clements is a place in North Charleston. I went by and showed some of the guys who I work with where I used to stay at, and they were like, "Wow, I can't believe it." But yeah,
Right.
we moved around all over. I mean, we really didn't stay in a lot of places longer than a year,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I mean, we moved around a lot. The only stability I really had was my great grandmother who lived in Orleans Gardens.
Okay. Where at New Orleans Gardens?
1911 Hazelwood Drive.
Okay, cool. My grandma lives in Carverwood.
All right.
Yeah, so yeah. So my people know your people. You know how that goes.
Yes, sir. You know, if you live in the gardens, you know everybody. Hey,
Absolutely, absolutely. You already know.
anybody too. You know.
So what school? What high school did you graduate from?
I went to West Ashley High School, and I actually finished my last year of high school in Baton Rouge, Louisiana,
Okay.
at a school called Broadmoor High School. I left there, graduated. Uh, it was a long story. I actually, I spent a lot of time. Just a backstory to
Mm-hmm.
that part. I spent a lot of time watching my mom's kids. She was a single mother, and so I had a lot of responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of my responsibility was watching my four siblings. And at the time, she was working, and I was working, and school wasn't really working out for me. So
Mm.
I ended up going to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Uh, Finishing with all A's, which was surprising. I knew I was smart, but I
Yeah.
just couldn't focus because I had a lot of responsibility. And I went on to college, went to Southern University. Um, and, from there, a lot of stuff happened. And here I am. I mean, when I first went to college was when I found out that my mom and my siblings were murdered.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was what year was that? Like your freshman year?
Yeah, that was 2006.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. I did not know that happened in your freshman year. I knew the story of it because again, the wood. So like it's like I didn't know that happened your freshman year. So without going into too much detail because I know that's a personal
Hey,
story
man.
and you
Oh, man.
can you
Hey,
talk to that
this
because
was
I know
real.
that
This was
that
real
that
talk.
feeds into why you are so you're so arduous about your work with domestic violence and preventing domestic violence. So can you just speak to a little bit more to how that situation worked itself out
Okay.
and how it impacted you?
Yeah, and I'm gonna just tell you. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, I teach kids, so there's nothing that you're gonna ask me. I probably haven't had to, explain to them already.
Right.
14 years ago, like I said, my mom, my four siblings were murdered by my mom's husband over in the Ferndale community. At that time, I was away at college, and I mean, it was just crazy. I got a phone call one night uh, telling me to fly home.
Mm,
My cousin called me and she said, "Hey, I need you to fly home." And what was ironic about that was I spoke to my mom that Friday,
mm,
and me and her really didn't speak for probably about maybe a month or two, which was very odd because we talked like almost every day.
mm-hmm,
And I was just trying to figure out what's going on. I would call her, she wouldn't return my calls, and finally, she called me, or my little sister called me that Friday at my job. And so I talked with her, talked with my mom, and talked with two out of my three brothers. And I mean, it was just weird. I spoke with them, and I told my mom, that I missed her, and asked her what was going on. She was like, no, everything was busy, because she had gotten diagnosed with colon cancer,
Mm.
and she was also trying to finish up school too. So she had a lot of stuff going on, but she said her treatments were wrapping up, because I would travel down occasionally to sit with her during her chemo sessions, and after that, it just I said, well, call me tomorrow.
Yeah.
And she said, I will. And I said, I promise. And she said, I promise. And I
Wow.
said, I love you. And honestly, that was the last time that I spoke to my mom.
Wow.
And, the sad thing about that is, I got a phone call telling me to come home. I was like, well, I just talked to my mom, so I figured nothing wrong with her. Called my great grandmother, who was in her upper 80s at the time, and she answered the phone after a while, and then I flew home trying to figure out what I was coming home for. Ended up going to Hampton Park, and after going to Hampton Park, my cousin kind of laid the news on me, uh, that my mom and my siblings were gone. In her words, she just basically said that all of them are gone.
Wow. And you're what, 18?
No, at the time I was 2019. I think I was
19?
19. Yeah.
Jeez. Like I just couldn't imagine that. Like I just couldn't imagine that. And but what the thing I love about your story is that it doesn't end there. A lot of people, that would be the part where it's like, okay, now I'm gonna wild out. Now I'm gonna go crazy. But somehow you were able to turn that pain into your passion and turn that passion into your profession in a lot of ways. So how did that push you forward after that happened?
So the, that part didn't happen overnight.
Okay.
A lot of people look at the work that I do in domestic violence now, and they think, right after that, I was like, uh, just into domestic violence. I didn't even understand the fact that it was domestic violence at that point in time. And, the sad thing was it took me 7 years to get to a point to understand my purpose.
Mm,
A lot, and I'm gonna just tell you a lot of stuff that I haven't told a lot of people.
please do.
Before 30 days before my mom died, I had gotten baptized. My mom
Wow.
asked me if I wanted her to come down, and I said, no, mom. You just came down here, for the graduation and all this other stuff, and don't worry about it. Everything will be okay. And I said, I'll send you some pictures or whatever.
Hmm.
And you know, I I got baptized, and you know, roughly about a month or so later, she got killed, and religiously to me, it felt like a kick in the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
I asked myself, I said, well, how can God love me and allow something like this to happen to me after I've
Mm,
taken such a huge step in the direction of faith? And I went to different counselors, roughly two or three of them. Finally, ended up being counseled by the dean at the school, and we went on to talk for about a year. But she even said herself, I've never experienced anything like this before in my life,
yeah.
and it's hard for me to counsel. I can counsel somebody who lost their mom, who lost their dad, but to counsel somebody who's lost something on this scale, it's hard.
Yeah.
So it. I really had to do some soul searching. I walked around lost. I actually left college when I saw that my grades started slipping. I was like, I'm wasting my money, and I'm wasting my scholarship. So I winded up going to Florida and going to a mechanic school called MMI.
Okay.
I wanted to do something a little different, hands-on, and so I went down there, and just thinking of my past, man, I went there, not only graduated at the top of my class, but it gave me clarity. I, I
Wow.
was I was there with no girlfriend, no friends, no family, nobody.
Mm,
So it was really just me and God. I had to come to the realization that my mom and my siblings were murdered, and they're no longer here, and they're never coming back. And I needed that time to myself to really focus and understand that this is life.
Yeah.
for you now. And, what are we going to do? What am I going to do? So, I went back to, after I graduated, came back home to Charleston, started attending the church, Seacoast. And while I was attending the church, the first day that I went there with some of my family members, the sermon that day was about asking the right questions
Mm.
and not asking God why, which I had been asking him why for 6 years, but asking God for guidance. And so I started praying for guidance. And, roughly about maybe a couple months later or whatever, I mean, I just received this idea. I started paying attention to domestic violence, and I received an award in Colombia for a distinguished survivor, which I didn't feel like I deserved at the time because I didn't do anything. I
Mm.
mean, yeah, I survived, but I didn't feel like I did anything.
Yeah.
But what it did is that one award opened my eyes to a lot of things. That I survived something. And to me, there's a difference between being a victim and being a survivor.
Yeah.
Because you can be a victim of something, but not survive. And, survivor is kind of I don't want to say it's an attitude, but it's a process.
Right.
And so when I got that award, I just started in the fire service, and I just got this idea that I wanted to honor my mom and my siblings, but I wanted to do it in an awareness way to where it would educate other people and empower other people and possibly even save lives.
Yeah.
And so, with that, I went out to Walmart and got with Spencer Pryor from North Charleston, and I told him, I told the mayor, told a couple of people like, hey, this is what I want to do. And I think the chief at the time might have been Zuma. And, I just said, hey, this is what I would like to do. I want to honor my family. I know that, it was the first funeral that they had at the Coliseum. The city was very supportive. The county was very supportive. But, I wanted to do something to bring awareness. And when we had planned the event, it may have been 2 to 3 weeks. I expected maybe about 20 people to show up. But I mean, we had roughly about 400 or 500 people.
Wow.
And it was phenomenal. And from there, I really started educating myself on the stats in South Carolina, some of the things that were going on, things that needed to change. And, I felt like I needed to do something about it. And I felt like I needed to do something different from other organizations. Not saying that what they're doing is wrong, because I think everybody has their place and what they need to do.
Yeah.
But I felt like I couldn't be reactive to domestic violence. I needed
Mm.
to be proactive. So in being proactive, I felt like educating kids was the way to break the chain and to stop the culture of domestic violence.
Yeah.
Because love is, while we may think that love is a universal language that everybody understands, is actually something that we are taught.
Mm.
And most of those ideals that we get about love, we are exposed to from our parents.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, again, your willingness and your ability. I've heard you tell your story. You spoke at our at the Low Country Youth Services huddle up for healthy relationships last year. And that was
Man,
the
that
first
was
time I was able to hear you speak, to tell your story, yourself. But I love the way you use it. Like you said, you are a survivor, but you refuse to be a victim. And like that's something that it takes forever for some people to realize. And you use your story, and you use your mom's story, and you use your brother and sister's story, to empower young people and to impact young people. And for that, I applaud you greatly. You also serve as a firefighter. How did you get into that?
So, man, interesting story. So, second grade, we took a field trip to St. Andrew Station 1 off of 61. And, I crawled through the smokehouse, talked to a couple firefighters, and I was like, man, this is what I want to do when I grow up. And I mean, in elementary school, everybody's, I want to be a firefighter, police, doctor, lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. But, growing up, I never saw a African American firefighter.
Mm.
So, when I finished school, I really didn't know how to get into the profession. I didn't know if there was like another process. Like, I didn't know it was as simple as filling out an application like you would for a restaurant. So, finally when I got back home and I was looking for a career, I thought to myself, I said, well, what can I do to, what can I do to, I was like, what? What can I do to repay the debt that I felt like I owed to the city of North Charleston and Charleston County as a whole?
Mm-hmm.
And the fire service popped them to mind, and I applied for the job. I got put on the short list, which in my mind meant you're not getting the job.
Mm.
And because there was 170 or 180 people that were at orientation, and I
Wow.
just looked like, man, there is no way that I'm gonna get this job, because we had people from uh, New York, New Jersey, all these places, EMTs, paramedics, and I'm like, man, was I supposed to have all this stuff before I came here? So but and then when they sent me the short list, I was like, okay, I guess I don't have a job. I guess that's a nice way of saying, thanks but no thanks.
Mm-hmm.
But the short list really just meant, you have to wait until the academy spot opens up. So I got a phone call, and I went up to I had to go up to Columbia, January 6th. I never forget that. 2000, I think it was 2013, and I almost did not pursue this career. As much as I love it and I always wanted to do it, I almost didn't pursue it, simply because at that time, earlier in that fall, I found out that my current wife now had breast cancer.
Wow.
And so her surgery was scheduled for, I think, a couple of days. She was supposed to go to the hospital the day that I left, and then her surgery was like a day or so afterwards. And in my mind, I'm like, I can't just leave you here, uh, and not, just to go pursue, my dreams. And we had a long discussion, probably until 5 a.m. that morning, of whether or not I was going. And she said, for a future, you have to go,
Mm.
and it's something that you want to do. She said that you have to go. And so I went, and man, it was a struggle. Just having to FaceTime her and having to, talk to her through the pains and the things that she was going through, and not physically being able to be there, but on the weekends. So on the weekends, I would spend time, just taking care of her, going with her to chemo and things like that. And it was a struggle mentally and physically to go through the academy and also stay focused, academically. So but we made it through, and I'm thankful for it. She survived it, and we now have a son, and we also have a beautiful daughter that was just born in January. So uh, things work out.
Mm. Mm. One thing I'm noticing, a trend that I'm noticing, through the different stories that you've told me, in the short time that we've been on here, is endurance. It seems like you have a real will to endure, and I think that's something that a lot of us could learn so much from, man. So I wrote that word down because it just stuck out to me. It just stuck out to me. So with that in mind, let's transition to where why we're here today. Let's talk about this campaign. Why Charleston County District 6? Why now? And why you?
Well, I'm a man of faith, so I believe in God's timing, not your time. So
Mm,
I would say that I've looked into exploring public service, and not sitting back and complaining about the change that I want to see, and stepping up and challenging myself to be the change that I would like to see.
mm-hmm,
And this seat opened up at I don't at a perfect time, I
mm,
would say, because I actually looked at maybe pursuing city council, maybe county council at some point in time. But my biggest challenge was my career.
yeah.
I love the fire department because I love the service, because day in and day out, I get to put my hands on people, I get to talk to people, and and touch them in their time of need. I don't really know how to explain it. I guess it would have to be like another first responder, but it's just something that is not easy to walk away from.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I mean, you get it's almost addictive because you're used to helping people, and county council gives me the opportunity to serve, uh, to basically expand my public service that I have been doing in a larger role and still maintain the career that I love to do.
Yeah.
And, the timing just was weird because when I was basically informed that, Judge Raw would be retiring, I was actually out Christmas shopping for another family that didn't have any money because they had just, I think they had just moved and something bad had happened to them. And, I told the wife, I was like, hey, the tithes that I'm going to pay this month, I'm going to bless another family and, buy their Christmas gifts.
Yeah.
And so, that's what I did. And then, I was walking with, a group of people who were helping out, and they were like, hey, this seat's open up, and I think, this would be a great opportunity for you. And I prayed about it for a couple of weeks. I brought the idea to my wife and asked. I said, look, I prayed for this, and this is what God is showing me. And I asked. I said, but I will only do it with your approval.
Mm.
Because if you're not confident in it, or if you don't want to go through it, uh, you know, so be it.
Yeah.
But she said, I think this is your time. And if God said it is good, it's good. And
Absolutely.
so, my main thing is I just really wanted to, my real purpose in running is being a part of the change that I would love to see. There's a lot of things that I think need to be improved upon in District 6. I think that we've been talking in circles around issues like flooding, like infrastructure and things like that, especially flooding. I mean, we've been talking about that forever.
Mm-hmm.
But are we really willing to invest the money that is really going to take in order to tackle some concrete solutions?
Mm.
And one thing that we need to stop doing is building uh, outdated infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
We need to make sure that we're building for the next 20, 30 years because we know the growth is coming. So why
Yes.
are we building projects that are only going to be effective for 5 years? To me, that doesn't make any sense. And it's a waste of taxpayers' dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to go in there and be uh, a young face that and have young ideas and want to be more progressive in Charleston County to make sure that we're moving forward and we're spending our tax dollars in a smart way.
Makes complete sense to me. Makes complete sense to me. What do you say? First of all, I want to ask you. Have you in this time on the campaign, have you learned anything about the community that you want to serve that you think is going to make you even more prepared for what's coming after the primary?
Yes, sir. So one thing that I've been doing once, the COVID thing kind of eased up a little bit is I've been going out to the communities, going door to door, obviously practicing social distancing, using my mask and all that good stuff. But going to the communities and hearing their needs, things that they want to see changed. Because I think that, yes, we can, post ads on Facebook all day and we can send out email blasts and do all these other things. But if you're really looking to represent somebody, to me, you have to go to the heart of the people and see what they need,
Mm.
not what you think they need. So, I've been out door to door listening to the concerns of the people, especially the people who have felt ignored by the county on many levels. So, especially in the town of Lincolnville, been out there and, they have uh, a ways to go to catch up. They need some resources out there from a public safety standpoint. They need help. I mean,
Yeah.
they have one fire truck that is covering an area that is rapidly growing, literally daily.
Mm.
So, being a public servant and being a captain in the fire service, I know what resources are needed to protect certain areas. And I know that seconds are crucial. So if they don't have an auto aid agreement, with another department, that means that once they get to a scene, or there's a delay in them getting dispatched, another unit being dispatched, and those seconds can cost lives.
Mm.
They just built a new apartment complex over there, Magnolia Bay apartments, 3-story apartments. It is sprinkler, but doesn't have a standpipe, which means if the second or third floor catches on fire and they don't have a ladder truck, they got to hump hose up 3 flights of steps
Wow.
and wait for another truck to get there. So it puts them at risk. It puts the firefighters at risk and puts the civilians at risk as well. So I would just like to see public safety stepped up in that area. Them have more resources as far as water supply for their community. I mean, their water system, they buy water, I think, from the county, but they need to have a more efficient system of distributing water to the citizens of Lincolnville. Uh, in North Charleston and in West Ashley, flooding and infrastructure is a huge problem. Flooding, my ideal behind flooding, or what I would like to see, is the fact that they're extending Glen McConnell, possibly all the way to Somerville.
Mm.
And I think it provides a unique opportunity to use that infrastructure to fix the flooding issues. Because if you have to build a drainage system uh, that has to be pretty large to catch the water that is coming off of the roads and off of those wetlands as well, then you can also build a system or put it into the contract when it's being built, that they have to build some type of drainage system that alleviates water off of the other communities
Mm.
that are going to drain into the system. And I also offered that they should partner with the Army Corps of Engineers to come up with some solutions. And I proposed that that we should do as a county, and I don't mind heading it up myself, a tri-county flooding task force.
Wow.
Because in my opinion, if we fix flooding in Charleston, right, there's a good chance that it may cause flooding in Dorchester County or cause flooding in Berkeley County, right? It's a regional problem, not just a Charleston problem.
Right.
So why not put our resources together and work with the Army Corps of Engineers and finally solve this problem for good?
Wow. So first of all, I just want to say that's an extensive answer. Not in terms of like that's so much information I couldn't take in. More like you hear a lot of people talk about change. You talked about infrastructural change in a way that I haven't heard yet. And I really appreciate that. That's something I definitely have a great appreciation for. You also talked about things from a standpoint, and this is just me, regurgitating back what I heard. You talked about things from a standpoint of how first responders can, like how first responders are really put at a disadvantage when it comes to the way our infrastructure is currently set up. I don't think I've ever heard any person running for any office mention that aspect of what's happening in our local economy in our local areas. So thank you for sharing that. That's really key, and I'm so glad that you stated that. I want to
Can I
ask
add
you.
one more thing
Oh
onto
yes,
that?
please do.
So I know that we look at 526 sometimes uh, as a traffic issue, right? We're like, we need to complete 526 specifically because of traffic and alleviating traffic. But in my opinion, 526 is also a public safety issue as well. A huge public safety issue because we understand that Johns Island, James Island is rapidly growing, also by the day.
Yes.
These populations are really getting up in numbers, and we have main roads, but we have our main roads are 2-lane highways, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have a tree down, but we have a bad accident, or we have a dump truck or something that flips over, and you have entrapment or things like that, or you have a call on the other side of that accident. How are we going to get there?
Mm.
You think about hurricanes and evacuations. Like these infrastructural changes that we need are not only because of we don't want to sit in traffic, but it has to do with public safety as well. We have to have other outlets to get to these areas, and it could help especially with response times for EMS as well.
Yes.
Because if you have that accident and you need to get an EMS unit for somebody having a cardiac arrest or having some type of real emergency on the other side of that, you can't. It's going to be hard to land a helicopter in Johns or James Island with the
Yes.
tree line.
Yes.
And if you don't already have a unit over there, or if the unit can't get off, I mean, that is an issue. So, we have to make sure that the infrastructure changes that we make are also looked at from a public safety standpoint to make sure that our people are not trapped.
Yes, that's again another key point that you really don't hear a lot of people talk about. And I don't know if it's that people don't talk about it because a lot of people don't come from a standpoint of working as a first responder coming into it. I think it probably does uniquely prepare you for the position, which I think is really cool. I do want to ask this because a lot of people, get hung up on like the presidential election and like, well, I'll vote in November. I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to waste my time going out there in June because they already know who they want anyway. You know how that goes. But
Yeah.
what is it that county council and local positions like that have an ability to change that people on a state and national level do not, that maybe people don't understand?
Everything. And I would say this: your quality of life. Your quality of life depends on your local public servants. So whether it be through city council, county council, state legislator, your state senators, all of those people control your quality of life. Your roads don't come from who's sitting in the presidency. He doesn't care what the road on 26 looks like or 526 gets completed. The people down here who live in their respective districts or respective areas are the people who make the decisions on who gets speed bumps, who gets new roads paved, who gets rezoning and gentrification and all of that other stuff. All of that is done on the local level. It has absolutely nothing to do on the federal level, but I think on the federal level we get so memorized by it because it's so exploited through the media.
Yes.
That we get wrapped up in it and we think, oh, well, we're only going to vote, for the presidential election. But, in order for you to get a great candidate for your local government who is going to control the quality of life, making sure that you have quality infrastructure, making sure that you have the best resources for your for public safety in your area, and to make sure that you have proper education for your children and recreation and just slowing crime and things like that. All of that is on a local level
Yeah.
because the people who truly affect your life are your local governments.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for saying that. I think that's such an important message that everybody has to really get a handle on. Like, it's not enough to just vote once every 4 years in November. We have to be not only voting in the primaries, but we need to make ourselves more educated about the process, the political processes, and who can make the changes that we want to see. Everything is not Donald Trump's fault.
True.
All right. And everything wasn't Barack Obama's fault. Everything positive that happened wasn't Barack Obama or Donald Trump. There are people that are like the local and state elections matter a lot. And we got to make sure that people understand the importance of voting in those elections. I wanted to
That's where
ask
your
you a
laws
question.
and your policies come from.
Huh?
I said your laws, your policies, and the people who get hired in these, you know, chief of police and
Yeah.
all of these other things that we want to see changed or we want to see improved. Those are the people that we're electing.
Yes. 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 Absolutely. Absolutely. Now you do have you're not running unopposed in this primary, correct?
No, sir.
Okay, so I do want to ask because I want to make sure that I get this question out there. What separates you from the person who you're running against, or people? I don't know if
Um,
there's multiple people.
Now, well, there are multiple people, but different parties. So I got
Okay.
one person running against me on the Democratic side. But what I would say, what separates me from my opponent is what you just heard a couple seconds ago. I don't want to talk about hot button topics without solutions.
Mm.
When you ask me about infrastructure, I want to have a solution. When you talked about public safety, I want to have a solution. I can't talk about issues and not come to you with a problem because, in my opinion, that's what you're going to be electing me for,
Yeah.
to solve things. So, in my opinion, we've had forums and things before, and I just feel like my extensive background in public safety, the relationships that I have with people on the state legislature and throughout the Senate, I think that I'm going to be able to bring concrete resources down here. I'm going to be able to bring progressive ideas that we can enhance our public safety, enhance our infrastructure through the partnerships and the people that I've had the pleasure of establishing a relationship with.
All right, very good answer. Very good answer. I do also want to
And
ask you, huh?
no, I was going to say, and after meeting with the current councilman in District 6. He feels, and he wound up endorsing me, but he feels like I have what you would say the endurance to be progressive and to bring changes in Charleston County.
Absolutely. I do want to give you an opportunity to respond to something as well, just because I'm a person who likes to make sure that people have an opportunity to speak for themselves. I'm not a person that speaks for people, and I don't spread things. So there have been, I don't know if you heard, there's been some stuff that's been put out there as far as that speak to your integrity. And I don't, without me directly asking the question, I want to see if there's something that you wanted to say in response to that. If not, no pressure. I just want to make sure I put it out there.
So I would just say this because I mean we could be on here for hours trying to talk about that subject.
Uh-huh.
But I would tell you this: my integrity is always intact. When it comes to things that I do in life, I do them for the right reasons, and I make sure I surround myself with the right people. When I am warned by, I would say, other law enforcement agencies and other people about the people that are around me or the people that I'm working with, I make sure that I do what's best for me and what's best for the people that I'm trying to serve. So, I separated myself uh, from people
Mm-hmm.
because I felt like the vision that I had for what I wanted to do with domestic violence was being clouded and directed in another direction that was
Mm.
outside of educating kids, and
Okay.
which I wanted to do. And so, I found myself at a crossroads of either compromising myself and my dreams and what I wanted to accomplish, or keep my faith in God and remain on the path that He led me on. And
Mm-hmm.
so, sometimes you have to grow up, and I separated and did my own thing. And to me, the proof is in the work that I do.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
simple as that. I mean, last year I went to DC, got recognized on the national level for the work that I've been doing throughout my community, for kids, for adults, and also for people in emergency services who need it during domestic violence situations. So to me, uh, I just tell people to make sure you do your research before you listen to what somebody has to say about somebody else. And you also have to
Absolutely.
look at the timing and the people who they associate themselves with.
Absolutely.
And I mean, that's how I address that. I mean, I don't really people who know me, they know I don't really go down the road with a lot of people. I don't kick cans down the road either.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not an argumentative person. I mean, if you have something negative to say about me, that's cool. The people who know me know me. The
Yeah.
people who have worked with me know my passion for what I do, and they know what I do,
Absolutely.
and they know why I do it. So I'm gonna continue working. I'm gonna continue saving lives, and if anybody else has anything negative to say, you can speak it, and I'm gonna keep being positive, and let God do the talking.
Absolutely. Thank you. I wanted to make sure that you had an opportunity to respond to that. It's really important, that again, people are able to speak for themselves. That's important.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that. This has been a really informative session. I really have enjoyed this interview. I want to give you an opportunity to make, your final plea to the audience, as far as, why they should vote for you June 9th. If they haven't already voted in, you know, uh, absentee voted. Why should they go out on Tuesday, cast a ballot for you, Christian Rainey, District 6, Charleston County?
I feel like they should go out June 9th, cast their vote for me, Kristen Rainey, simply because it's time for us to have concrete, progressive solutions for our county. spend our tax dollars smartly on things that are going to last, and also be proactive to the growth that is coming around Charleston County. I think that we need to be safer. Everybody is paying taxes to the county, but not everybody has equal resources or equal public safety. And I want to make sure that I ensure the safety of our kids. One of the programs that I've been working on is the Workforce Housing Initiative, to make sure that people are provided quality homes, not anything cheaply built, but partnering with Home Depot and Quicken Loans to make sure that people are able to afford to live in Charleston County, because 50% of people who live in Berkeley and Dorchester County travel to our county to work, which creates traffic congestion. So I just want to bring concrete solutions. There are a lot of things that I've been working on outside of being a county councilman or trying to be elected to a county councilman, that a lot of people haven't, I guess you would say, known about, because I just believe in doing the work. I also recently got assigned as a chair for a task force for, I guess you would say, a advisory board for law enforcement officers or law enforcement in Charleston County. Had a meeting with Sheriff Cannon, Chief Lewis, Chief Reynolds, and also Chief Gomes, because obviously Chief Burgess was in quarantine at the time. But they're all on board to approach all of this stuff from a county level to make sure that we're holding each other accountable, very transparent with the community, because one of my platforms is public safety and crime. And I believe that we curve that by establishing the relationships with law enforcement. And in order to do that, the community is going to have to be involved, and they're going to have to lead the charge. We can't have law enforcement trying to tell us how to establish the relationship in the community. We have to make sure that we establish a relationship that is transparent and honest, to make sure that we're able to establish those relationships. And one other thing, education, park and rec, I think that our kids need to have the resources available to them. Why I want to partner with the school board to make sure that all of our kids have broadband, internet, and are able to have access to these things, and have more after school programs that revolve around STEM. Simply because we know with Boeing, with Volvo, with Mercedes, and all these other industries that are coming here, our kids are not able to take advantage of these jobs. I'm tired of seeing our kids graduating from high school without any trades, without any programs that are preparing them to take advantage of the wealth that is here in Charleston County. So if you want a more progressive Charleston County, if you want someone who is going to fight for you and continue to serve you, then I'm your man. Like I tell everyone that I've had the pleasure of talking to in any type of forum, if I'm willing to put my life on the line for citizens as a captain in the fire department, imagine what I'm willing to do as your county councilman.
Wow. Mic drop, huh? Had a mic drop moment. I love that. That was a great answer.
That's how I feel, man.
I love that, man.
I'm passionate about people, man.
I see that.
Some people may consider it weak or a sign of weakness, but my passion is people. I've lost everything in life. So the only passion and the only void that I have to fill that is serving other people.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, man. Thank you for sharing. If they want to find out more about you, where can they find out more about you?
They can check us out on Facebook. It's Kristen Rainey for County Council. You can also take a look at our Twitter, hashtag Make It Rainy, Rainey for Council on Instagram, www.Kristen, CHRISTAN, just one I, RAINEY.com, for more information on my platform and things that I plan on bringing to the county. And just remember, June 9th, let your voice be heard. It's your county, it's your voice, and it's your choice.
All right. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate the interview. Give me 1 second. Let me wrap this up, and then I'll come right back to you. All right.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Let me get my music straight. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching this week, man. This was a great interview. I want to thank Christian Rainey for joining me, man. He didn't have to do it, but he did. on a Sunday night. I'm pretty sure he has stuff he can do with his family. And he wanted to be here tonight so you guys can hear his voice and hear what he had to say. So make sure that you do go out on June 9th, Tuesday, June 9th, cast your vote. I can't tell you who to vote for. I have shown you the candidates, and they are there for you to make your choice. Vote your choice, vote your issues. I also want to send a special thank you to our sponsors. Shout out to www.signstosee.com. They are an official sponsor of Real Talk with Rajan. If you are looking for custom items to get made, whether it be t-shirts, bumper stickers, mugs, all this different apparel that you're looking to get made with customs, go to www.signs2c.com and use the code RealTalk2020. That's RealTalk2020 at www.signs2c.com. I want to thank everybody so much for watching this week. Remember that the Local Celebrity Spotlight shines every Wednesday night at 7 p.m., where I interview my local celebrities and unsung heroes. Next week's Local Celebrity Spotlight will shine on a young lady out of New York City, Miss Sunny Johnson, who is a Sirius XM nationally syndicated radio host. She's a Black conservative, and she has a lot to say. I love hearing this young lady speak. I cannot wait until Wednesday. If you are doing something in the community that you would like the light shined on, please reach out to me on my website. That's www.realtalkwithrajan.com so that we can discuss getting you on the show. This and all of my shows, in addition to the Car Chronicle series, is now available for your listening pleasure via Apple, Google, Spotify, or any place you can find podcasts. You can also find it on my website. That's www.realtalkwithrajan.com. If you'd like to be made aware of when I go live, because sometimes it is unscheduled, please be sure to click the follow or subscribe tab and turn on the notifications so that you will know when something new is posted to the page. In the meantime, please follow me on social media to stay up to date on what's happening with Real Talk with Rajan. Go anywhere, type in Real Talk Rajan, and I'm going to pop up. But I'm going to make a special request. If you could please go to my YouTube page and look up Real Talk with Rajan and press subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. Why? Because YouTube pays more than Facebook. So let's get my subscribers up on YouTube. Feel free to leave comments, questions, whatever else you'd like to say in the comment section or the message section. I love reading your messages and getting your feedback, even if it's negative. I would also appreciate it if you would leave a 5-star rating on my podcast or review on my Facebook or YouTube channel. I am currently accepting invitations for speaking engagements and event hosting opportunities. If you'd like for me to speak at or host your event, you can request me via my website. You guessed it, www.realtalkwithrajan.com. In closing, thank you again, Christian Rainey. And always remember, God is everything, and without him, we are nothing, so never forget where your help comes from. And if a man doesn't stand for something, he's bound to fall for anything. Now that is real talk. I will see y'all next week. Peace.